In the history of humankind, few individuals have left a legacy as profound as Nelson Mandela. A symbol of resilience, justice, and hope, Mandela's journey from prisoner to president reshaped not just South Africa but the world. Sakri. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela was born on July 18, 1918, in the small village of Mvezo in the Eastern Cape of South Africa. His middle name, Rolihlahla, meant pulling the branch of a tree, or colloquially, troublemaker, a fitting name for a man who would challenge one of the world's most oppressive regimes. Mandela's father, Gadla Henry Mfakanyiswa, was a chief, which instilled early lessons in leadership and justice. His father's death when Mandela was 9. Raised by Chief Jongintaba Dalindyebo in the Tembu royal household. Early education at mission schools. First exposure to stories of African resistance and injustice. Mandela moved to Johannesburg in the 1940s, where he witnessed the brutal realities of apartheid firsthand, a system that stripped black South Africans of their rights and dignity. Studies at the University of Fort Hare and later legal training in Johannesburg. Encounters with activists like Walter Sisulu and Oliver Tambo. Joining the African National Congress, ANC, in 1943. Mandela quickly rose through the ranks of the ANC, leading campaigns against discriminatory laws. His vision for a free and equal South Africa grew stronger, but so did the government's efforts to silence him. Key points. The Defiance Campaign of 1952, a mass protest against apartheid laws. Founding the ANC's Youth League to mobilize young activists. Establishing South Africa's first black law firm with Oliver Tambo. Quote from Mandela, "I have walked that long road to freedom. I have tried not to falter. I have made missteps along the way. But I have discovered the secret that after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb." In 1964, Mandela was sentenced to life imprisonment for his role in opposing apartheid. His trial became a global symbol of resistance, especially after his defiant words in the courtroom. Highlights. His speech during the Rivonia trial. "I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society. It is an ideal for which I am prepared to die." 27 years of imprisonment, mostly on Robben Island. Harsh conditions, breaking rocks, sleeping on a straw mat, and limited contact with the outside world. Mandela's resilience and how he became a leader even among prisoners. While Mandela languished in prison, the world took notice. The anti-apartheid movement gained momentum globally, with calls for his release growing louder each year. Key moments. Economic sanctions and boycotts against South Africa. Artists, activists, and world leaders rallying for his freedom. Mandela's letters from prison inspiring millions. While Mandela languished in prison, the world took notice. The anti-apartheid movement gained momentum globally, with calls for his release growing louder each year. Key moments. Economic sanctions and boycotts against South Africa. Artists, activists, and world leaders rallying for his freedom. Mandela's letters from prison inspiring millions. As president, Mandela prioritized reconciliation over revenge, a path few leaders would have the courage to take. Key actions. Formation of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Policies to address economic disparity and education. Symbolic gestures like inviting his jailers to his inauguration. Quote from Mandela, "Courageous people do not fear forgiving for the sake of peace." Mandela's legacy extends far beyond South Africa. He became a symbol of hope, resilience, and the fight for justice across the globe. Highlights. The Nobel Peace Prize in 1993. His advocacy for HIV/AIDS awareness. Global initiatives inspired by Mandela, like Mandela Day. Nelson Mandela passed away on December 5, 2013, leaving behind a world forever changed by his courage and compassion. Quote for reflection, "What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we lead." Mandela's release in 1990 was a moment of triumph, but South Africa was far from peaceful. The country was on the brink of civil war, and Mandela had to lead it through one of its most challenging times. Key points: continued racial violence and political unrest, negotiations with F.W. de Klerk to dismantle apartheid peacefully, the risk of assassination and betrayal during this volatile period. Despite immense challenges, Mandela's leadership and determination led to the first democratic elections in 1994, a historic moment for South Africa. Key points: the role of the ANC in building voter trust, the global significance of South Africa's first free and fair election, Mandela's landslide victory, making him the nation's first black president. As president, Mandela chose a path of reconciliation, earning respect even from his former enemies. Key points: his famous gesture of wearing a Springbok rugby jersey during the 1995 Rugby World Cup, encouraging dialogue between communities torn apart by decades of violence. His philosophy: courageous people do not fear forgiving. Mandela supported the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which sought to heal the wounds of apartheid by uncovering the truth. Key points: victims and perpetrators of apartheid crimes sharing their stories, the controversial but effective approach to restorative justice, Archbishop Desmond Tutu's role in leading the commission. Mandela's presidency wasn't without criticism. He faced enormous challenges in addressing economic disparity, unemployment, and the AIDS epidemic. Key points: the difficulty of balancing expectations, his acknowledgement of mistakes and commitment to long-term solutions. After serving one term, Mandela stepped down as president, a decision that reflected his humility and belief in democracy. Key points: his support for his successor, Thabo Mbeki, his continued influence as a global statesman after leaving office. Mandela often said, "Education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world," and he dedicated much of his post-presidency to this cause. Key points: his work with the Nelson Mandela Foundation, initiatives to improve education access for marginalized communities. Mandela broke cultural taboos by openly addressing the AIDS epidemic, especially after losing his son to the disease. Key points: his advocacy for HIV/AIDS awareness, campaigns to reduce stigma and increase treatment access. Mandela became a symbol of peace and reconciliation, mediating conflicts in other nations. Key points: his involvement in Burundi's peace talks, advocating for global equality and human rights. Behind the public figure was a man who faced deep personal challenges, from strained relationships to the loss of loved ones. Key points: his marriages, Evelyn and Toko Mace, Winnie Madikizela, Mandela, and Graça Machel. The toll of his activism on his family life. How his family carried on his legacy.
In 2009, the United Nations declared July 18th as Mandela Day, a call to action for people to dedicate 67 minutes of their time to doing good. Key points: the significance of 67 minutes, symbolizing Mandela's 67 years of public service. Global participation in acts of kindness and service. From books and movies to songs, Mandela's story has inspired countless works of art. Key points: films like Invictus and songs like Free Nelson Mandela. How his legacy is celebrated in literature, art, and music. In his later years, Mandela retreated from public life, spending time with family and reflecting on his journey. Key points: his declining health and reduced public appearances. Peaceful moments at his home in Kunu. Nelson Mandela passed away on December 5, 2013, at the age of 95, leaving behind an unmatched legacy. Key points: world leaders and citizens mourning his death. Global tributes and celebrations of his life. Mandela's impact continues to resonate, reminding the world of the power of forgiveness and perseverance. Key points: his influence on modern movements for justice and equality. The lessons leaders and citizens draw from his life. Robben Island, once a place of despair, became a symbol of hope and resilience due to Mandela and his fellow prisoners. Key points: Mandela's routine on the island: breaking rocks, enduring isolation, and staying mentally strong. How he transformed the prison into a place of learning, calling it the University of Robben Island. Fellow prisoners who became lifelong allies in the struggle. Throughout his life, Mandela mentored young leaders, ensuring the continuation of the fight for justice. Key points: stories of young activists inspired by Mandela's courage. His guidance to future ANC leaders, ensuring the movement's longevity. Mandela's philosophy: a leader is not the one who leads, but the one who empowers others to lead. Mandela forged alliances with global leaders, activists, and organizations, amplifying the fight against apartheid on an international scale. Key points: his connection with anti-apartheid movements in the UK, USA, and other countries. Diplomatic relations with figures like Fidel Castro, Muammar Gaddafi, and the Dalai Lama. The role of international pressure in dismantling apartheid. Mandela's story has often been mythologized, but the real man behind the legend is even more inspiring. Key points: dispelling misconceptions, such as the Mandela effect, the false belief he died in prison. Highlighting his human side, mistakes, regrets, and how he overcame them. While Mandela's presidency is celebrated, his economic policies were often critiqued as he sought to balance transformation with stability. Key points: the Reconstruction and Development Program, RDP, to address poverty and inequality. The compromises made to avoid economic collapse. The ongoing struggle for economic equality in South Africa. Behind the speeches and struggles was a man who loved to laugh and connect with people on a personal level. Key points: stories of Mandela's humor, like joking with guards on Robben Island. His warmth and ability to disarm even his fiercest critics. Perhaps Mandela's greatest gift to the world was his ability to forgive those who oppressed him. Key points: his meeting with Percy Yutar, the prosecutor who sought his death penalty, inviting his former jailers to his inauguration. His view: resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies. Mandela's leadership extended beyond South Africa, as he became a symbol of hope for the entire African continent. Key points: his support for liberation movements across Africa, advocacy for the African Union's formation, and his dream of a united Africa. His condemnation of dictatorships, emphasizing democracy. Mandela received over 250 awards, including the Nobel Peace Prize, but he always saw them as collective achievements. Key points: his acceptance speech for the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993, shared with F.W. de Klerk. Tributes like the Mandela Rhodes Foundation and Mandela University. Statues, streets, and institutions named in his honor worldwide. Mandela championed the African philosophy of Ubuntu, which emphasizes humanity and interconnectedness. Key points: explanation of Ubuntu. I am because we are. How Mandela applied this principle in politics and reconciliation. Ubuntu's relevance in today's fractured world. A lesser-known aspect of Mandela's legacy is his advocacy for protecting the planet. Key points: support for conservation efforts in South Africa, such as national parks. Promoting sustainable development as part of global peace building. Mandela's life inspired countless artists, but he also had a deep appreciation for literature and art. Key points: his love for Invictus by William Ernest Henley, which inspired him during imprisonment. Support for African writers and artists during apartheid. His own writings, including Long Walk to Freedom. South Africa became the first country to voluntarily dismantle its nuclear weapons, a policy Mandela supported. Key points: the significance of this decision during the post-apartheid era. Mandela's stance on global nuclear disarmament. Mandela understood that true freedom included gender equality and worked to uplift women in South Africa. Key points: his partnership with strong women leaders, including his wife Winnie, policies promoting women's rights during his presidency. Mandela's affection for children reflected his hope for the future of South Africa. Key points: establishing programs for child education and welfare. His playful interactions with children, even during serious events. In today's world, Mandela's legacy lives on through digital campaigns and global movements. Key points: social media's role in keeping Mandela's message alive. Youth movements inspired by his principles of justice. Mandela's leadership extended to fostering unity among South Africa's diverse religious communities. Key points: his respect for all faiths and his ability to bring different groups together. His speeches emphasizing interfaith harmony. Mandela's burial in Kunu was a deeply symbolic return to his roots. Key points: the significance of Kunu in his life. Tributes during his funeral, attended by world leaders. Mandela's life offers a roadmap for leaders committed to justice and equality. Key points: his humility and refusal to cling to power. The importance of patience and dialogue in leadership. Mandela didn't just fight for the end of apartheid. He helped lay the foundation of a democratic South Africa. Key points: creation of South Africa's new constitution, one of the most progressive in the world. His commitment to fair elections and peaceful transitions of power. Establishing constitutional protections for minorities and human rights. Mandela understood the power of media to shape narratives, both during his activism and presidency. Key points: how anti-apartheid campaigns leveraged international media to highlight South Africa's struggles. Mandela's skilled use of interviews and public appearances to garner global support. His calm and composed demeanor in high-pressure media situations. While Winnie Mandela was a pivotal figure in the anti-apartheid struggle, their relationship faced immense strain. Key points: Winnie's leadership during Mandela's imprisonment. Controversies surrounding Winnie's political actions and their eventual divorce. The complexities of their partnership and its impact on South African history. Mandela's philosophy became a guiding light for activists around the world. Key points: how his legacy inspired movements like Black Lives Matter. His impact on campaigns for prison reform, justice, and equality worldwide. Mandela's speeches as a moral compass for global leaders. Nelson Mandela's life is a testament to the power of resilience, forgiveness, and unwavering dedication to justice. His sacrifices and leadership not only dismantled apartheid, but also united a divided nation, inspiring the world with his vision of equality and peace. Mandela's legacy lives on as a guiding light for those who strive for freedom, reminding us that true change begins with courage, empathy, and the determination to build a better future for all. Nelson Mandela's legacy is one of hope, unity, and justice. Through his sacrifices and unwavering commitment, he transformed South Africa and inspired the world to believe in the power of forgiveness and equality. His life remains a timeless reminder that change is possible through courage and compassion. Nelson Mandela's life symbolizes courage, forgiveness, and the fight for justice. He united a divided nation and inspired the world with his vision of equality. His legacy continues to guide us toward hope and reconciliation. Mandela reminds us that true change begins with compassion.